Stand by to fall in, Polk County. This is today's veteran. Hello and welcome, and on behalf of everyone at the Polk County Office of Veteran Services, thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Tim Kirkhart, and on this installment of today's Veteran, we talk about Operation Outdoor Freedom with the Florida Department of Agriculture. But first, Polk County has nearly 54,000 veterans living in the community. A local service organization, the Lakeland Rotary Clubs, have dedicated themselves to service above self. For the last 9 years, they have recognized those who have served us and our nation with a breakfast for veterans. Joining me in studio are Ron O'Connor from the Lakeland South Rotary and Leanne Davis, who is a board member. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
All right, so we're here to talk about a breakfast. Can you give us some details?
Yes, it's going to be November 9th at 7 a.m. at the Heritage Baptist Church, 4202 Pipkin Creek Road in Lakeland.
Okay. That's down by the 570 or?
That's correct. It's
Polk
just
Parkway.
South of the Polk Parkway.
So you have to go one way to get there.
That's correct. You'll be going east on the Drainfield Road.
Tell us how the event got started and your involvement or the Rotary's involvement in it.
So the very first year, Rotary Club of Lakeland North actually had a board meeting, and they got together and they decided that they wanted to put on a breakfast for the veterans for Veterans Day. And so I think it was a Wednesday morning was the very first breakfast, and that was about 9 years ago. So this year is the 9th annual one that we've done. And it started with the Lakeland North Club, and then a couple years later we started rotating clubs. So each club would do it. They would take their turns doing it every year. And then this year is the first year that we brought all 4 clubs together to do it as like a committee. So all 4 clubs are doing it. All 4 clubs host it every year anyway, but this year we're doing it kind of committee style. So yeah.
How do veterans get involved for a free breakfast?
All they have to do basically is show up. And as you said, it is free for veterans. It's $10 for the general public. And then we have sponsors as well.
Okay. Does the veteran have to prove their veteran status? Does anybody ask, or do you sign in, or what do you do?
It's the honor system. We basically ask, and if they say they are, they are.
What do you expect the turnout to be? Any figures, any past figures?
So last year we had close to 300, and I think we're expecting between 300 and 350 this year. We have a location that holds a pretty good number of people, and we're having the breakfast catered by Mission Barbecue, so we're kind of preparing for a little bit bigger turnout. So we're expecting 300 to 350.
Okay, and so it's at Heritage Baptist. Where in that facility can you hold something like that? Would it be in the gym?
It is. It's in the gym.
Okay. Okay. I've been in the gym a few times. Yeah. Tell us what's on the menu, or do you know what the Mission Barbecue is going to serve for breakfast?
So it's going to be traditional breakfast. So we should have eggs, bacon, sausage, your traditional lineup, and then we should also have SOS, which is they either love it or they hate it, but we have that every year.
Wow, I haven't had that in years. Oh my gosh. So it's a buffet? You just go up and serve yourself, or?
Yep, it'll be buffet, and then we'll have some people there as well. So if the veterans need help getting their food, then we'll have people that can assist them with getting their food as well. Okay,
so what about, is there a ceremony involved? Is there speakers or things like that?
So we will have a speaker. Every year we have a speaker. This year our speaker is Mike Reed. He was in the Air Force, and our theme this year is Operation Homecoming. So he's going to be speaking on Operation Homecoming. And so, we have the speaker, and he'll speak for a little bit, and then we'll play the songs of the military services, which is pretty cool because everyone gets to stand up and we can see who belongs to what branch. And then we'll do recognition by war, and so we get to see which veterans were in which war. So it's pretty interactive in that way.
Have you been at one of the past? I imagine you have.
Yes, I have. Got to take my dad. My late father was a World War II veteran, commanded a landing craft in 7 Pacific invasions. And the benefit to this is that the funds that we earn go to Flight to Honor. And I got to take my dad on that.
Oh, you
It's quite
did?
an experience.
Tell me about that. What did he think of it?
You know, my dad never felt like he was a hero, but they treat them like royalty. And it's so much fun for the veterans. It's really condensed into one day, but they take them up to Washington, D.C., and they just celebrate their heroism at every opportunity. And we had U.S. Congressman Ross came out. His dad happened to be on the same flight as my dad. And so he came out and honored the veterans, and they really do it up right.
And that honor, Flight to Honor leaves from Lakeland, correct?
The one my dad went on left out of St. Petersburg,
Okay.
but now we have them going out of Lakeland.
Right, right. And that's usually, I think, the last few years during Sun and Fun, so it coordinates with that. Tell us again what your dad thought of the Flight to Honor. Was he worn out for it's a long day, I believe.
No, he thoroughly enjoyed it. And when we got back, and we were very late getting back. The flight was delayed, so we were like 2 hours late. It must have been 11:30 at night, and there must have been 200-300 people at the airport waiting to honor the veterans. And he was even asked for an autograph by some kids, and he just ate every bit of that up.
I believe they have a mail call where they hand out letters that children, which are sometimes fascinating.
It really was. It brought back some great memories of getting letters from home for all the veterans.
Tell us about the event as far as what may be in the future. Is anticipated, this is the 9th annual, so we're thinking that it's gonna keep going.
Yeah, so we're doing a couple things a little bit differently this year. And so this year, we've sometimes had a couple gifts in the past for the veterans. This year, we had these challenge coins made, which I know you can't see very well, but we have little challenge coins, which are in the shape of the rotary wheel. So each veteran will get one of these, and it has the Operation Homecoming theme on the back. And then each veteran will get a mug as well, which will have the event date, and it'll say Veterans Breakfast, and so they'll get that to take home with them for free. So we're doing that this year, and then also this year we'll have booths set up with various vendors that provide services to veterans. And so we'll have Wreaths Across America will have one booth there, and so they'll be able to talk about what they do, and then we'll have some other booths set up. I think Lakeland Magic is planning on having a booth set up because they're going to be doing a veterans game, so different stuff like that. So we're trying to grow it a little bit, but always try to provide service to the veterans.
In the future, the 4 Rotary Clubs will continue to sponsor this event, as far as you know? I mean, how is that decided?
It was a joint venture by the Rotary Clubs, and we plan to do this the event in the future. We've raised enough funds that we think it can be self-supporting in the future. And you know, one thing I'd like to say is one of the most poignant things I've ever heard was I heard a veteran say that freedom is decidedly sweeter to those who have defended it than it is to those who were defended. And that's one of the reasons why I like to do this event.
Good. From my experience, veterans have more patriotism after they're out of the service, after they've done their part, and then they can look back and see what we've done. And how we've served the country. Well, listen, we're about out of time, and so is any parting words, any info that you want to get out to our audience before we leave today?
Just that whether or not you're a veteran, if you're a veteran, we would love to have you. Free breakfast, you get a great little program. We would love to appreciate you. If you're not a veteran, you can still support. It's $10. You don't have to buy a ticket in advance, just show up at the door. If you're a veteran, you can just sit down and enjoy your breakfast. And if you're not a veteran, you can just pay at the door. We do have a website that just went up with some information, and it should be www.lakelandveterans.com. So there's the exact information is on that website as well.
Okay. Well, thank you both for being here this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more information on the Salute to Veterans Breakfast, you can look it up on the web at www.lakelandveterans.com. The National Veterans Wheelchair Games is co-presented between the Department of Veterans Affairs and Paralyzed Veterans of America. The games serve with veterans with spinal cord injury, multiple sclerosis, amputations, and other central neurological impairments, with the goal to increase their independence, healthy activity, and quality of life through wheelchair sports and recreation. Here are some sights and sounds of the 38th Annual Games.
We have more than 650 veterans from all across the country, as well as Puerto Rico and Great Britain, who are here competing in the National Veterans Wheelchair Games. The games are co-presented by the Paralyzed Veterans of America and the Department of Veterans Affairs. And so they're going to be competing all week in 18 different events, as well as 2 exhibition events. This is really about the pinnacle of rehabilitation and recovery from injury. So every veteran that's here has sustained some sort of injury, whether that injury happened due to combat or illness, just however that occurred. These folks have gone through the recovery process, the rehabilitation process that started at their local VA and slowly progressed. And they got better, and they got stronger, and they got healthier, and they got more, confidence. And then that built, and we, helped them rebuild their bodies to the point where they can come out here and they can compete.
These games, as an athlete, it's a way to kind of unload and do other sports besides my main sport that I do. It's a lot of fun. It's great to come back. You see friends that you've made over the years. It's the largest gathering of other guys in wheelchairs that we can kid around with, joke around with, and have fun with.
All these folks are military service veterans, and so they have that drive, that internal fortitude that it took to serve their country. And so we want to make sure they still have that opportunity, that independence, what it took for them to join the service. The soldiers, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, and Marines, and we're giving back so that they can continue on and have a fruitful and fulfilling life. Is we like to be able to introduce, a large population of wheelchair athletes, wheelchair veterans, that we want to introduce them to the latest and the greatest, the newest technology, and we want this to be, that sort of that ground where they can come and they can experience that. We have the Green Light Hall here, which is being sponsored by Full Sail University, which is local here in Orlando. And they put on this whole adaptive experience, this whole virtual experience of adaptive technology for folks that are in wheelchairs. And so they can come, the veterans can come experience that, the newest technology.
Wheelchair rugby for me has been, it was my first love in wheelchair sports years ago. It was the sport I wanted to take to the highest level I possibly could. Age kind of got in the way a little bit. Kids at home got in the way a little bit, so I haven't been playing a whole lot, but it's great to come to these games and still be able to compete. This sport used to be called Murder Ball, was the original name, and as you watch it, you can see why. We get out there and we just murder each other. We try to hit as hard as we can. We try to get the ball. No matter what gets in our way, we're going after it. Yeah, wheelchair rugby is the only full contact wheelchair sport there is. We don't beat up our bodies, we beat up the chairs, but in turn some of it transfers to our bodies, and it's not the easiest sport to do. It's tough. It's a lot of speed, a lot of hitting, a lot of sweat, blood, tears. But a lot of fun.
Welcome back to Today's Veteran. I'm your host, Tim Kirkhart. Operation Outdoor Freedom provides wounded veterans with the outdoor activities that they enjoy at no cost. Designated state and agricultural lands throughout Florida grant these veterans unique opportunities for recreation and rehabilitation. The Florida Forest Service within the Florida Department of Agricultural and Consumer Services has provided hundreds of veterans with the Operation Outdoor Freedom experience. Joining us in studio is Randy Ross from Operation Outdoor Freedom. Tell our viewers a little bit about the program.
Our program, like you said, it's Operation Outdoor Freedom, and it's through the Florida Forest Service. And we take wounded veterans who reside in Florida, and they must be a 30% VA rating, disability or greater, or Purple Heart recipient. And we take them hunting, fishing, outdoor activities, camping, scalloping, you name it. We get them back out in the outdoors.
Where do these activities take place?
They take place through the whole state. We do a lot of the hunts on state properties and also private properties. Private landowners, they're generous enough, a lot of them, to help us out, supply the property to do a hunt or a fishing event or anything like that.
What would be their incentive to help out?
The private landowners' incentive, I think a lot of them, they want to give back, to the veterans who've sacrificed so much for our country.
Okay. What happens to the animals or fish that they actually catch or kill? What happens?
On a lot of the events, some of the fishing events, they'll go home with fish, or they may cook the fish there, you know, and consume the fish there. The hunting events, the deer events, hog events, they'll take the meat home with them. The alligator events, we do a lot of alligator hunts. That veteran will leave with 10 pounds of processed alligator meat, already processed, and then they will get the head mounted at a later date and shipped back to them.
And what say to get the head of the alligator, what does it cost the veteran?
A lot of it's free of charge. The ones that we've done so far this year is no charge to them whatsoever.
Where do you work out of?
I work out of Bartow.
Okay. And the headquarters would be where, here or Tallahassee?
Tallahassee is the headquarters for all of our operations, but we work out of the satellite office here out of Bartow, the Department of Ag office.
All right. So the veteran has to be 30% or higher?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Or a Purple Heart recipient.
Or Purple Heart recipient?
Yes, sir.
How do they get involved? How do they register or whatever?
They can go online to www.operationoutdoorfreedom.com and create a profile and register with us. And as soon as they get registered with us, then they can automatically see the events that are coming up through the state, and they can go on and apply for them. And it's a computer-drawn process, like the lottery. It'll automatically draw when the date is closed on that event.
How many veterans get to participate in the events? Or is it
yearly, usually around 400. We normally do about 90 events and on an average. And so about 400. Since 2011, we've had 505 events that's listed on the books, and that's supported 3,828 veterans.
Wow.
To date.
What kind of feedback do you get, or do you get feedback?
Yes, we get a lot. Some of these veterans have not been out very much since they've been back in the mainstream of things. We're just trying to get them out, and it's not really the catching of the fish or the harvesting of the animal. A lot of times it's just being around a campfire with some other veterans who may be going through the same thing that some of those are going through, and it gets them, talking to each other and gets them back out.
Give me a scenario of the event and how it starts and what happens during the event.
Okay, normally, and we'll have, a lot of them are on the weekends, so they may show up on 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon, have a briefing, do some paperwork, and then have supper around 6:30. If it's alligator hunt, we'll go out and hunt that night till maybe midnight or so, and then hunt the next morning as well. If it's a fishing event, we may fish that evening, and then fish the rest of the weekend as well.
Okay. When you say you have dinner or supper, how does that? How do they prepare their own meals? Or?
No, sir. We have support groups throughout the state that will help us support that event, and they'll supply the food and cook and have all the snacks and drinks and everything for the weekend. Some of them that are not with support groups, we have local coordinators throughout the state, and they do fundraising events to draw the money in to put on these events. Everything that we do is through fundraising or donations. There's nothing that comes out of the state budget to support these.
Okay. Let's go back to the alligator thing, because I've watched Swamp People and all that stuff. So how do you say you might go out Friday night? What do you mean go out?
We do it a couple of different ways. Sometimes we'll set bait and leave it soak for 3 or 4 hours and then go back. We may set in the afternoon early.
So like in the tree like they do in
no, so we'll float it. We'll take beef lung or pork lung and put it on a hook and float it. And then the alligator will come and consume the bait. And then we'll have one veteran pull the alligator in on the line, and the other second veteran will harvest the alligator. And then they'll take turns. They'll swap all the way down.
So they pull the alligator in, and Is that just one veteran, or the whole group does it, or what?
It'll be one veteran pulling the alligator in, yes, sir.
Okay.
And we also do it other ways as well. You know, sometimes we'll harpoon the alligator out of a boat. It just depends upon the location and the veterans.
Okay. What happens to, I know you harvest the meat, but what happens to the alligator skin and all that?
So the alligator, we have a processor that helps us. He'll bring a cooler trailer, and we'll load the alligators in the cooler trailer. We'll tag them. We have the tags from the state, and we keep a record of that alligator. We'll put a jaw tag in it as well. That alligator will go to the processor. The processor, in turn, we will purchase the processed meat from the alligator, from the processor, that goes to the veteran, and then the rest of the alligator will go to the processor.
What do you have facilities for a severely disabled veteran, say in a wheelchair or wearing prosthetics?
Yes, sir. We have 2 camps online now. We have Camp Prairie, which is east of Lake Wells. It's all handicap accessible. We have a new one down in Arcadia. It's called Peace River State Forest. We have a camp there. That camp will house probably 20 folks. The one up in Lake Wells will house about 40. We have bunk houses, summer kitchens, and showers and bathroom facilities.
So in your job, are you all over the state in your
Yes,
particular
sir.
job?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As far as selecting, you say it's done by computer?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The computer will, there'll be a window for them to apply for that event, and at the end of that window, the computer will draw the names, and they will go, at the beginning of the fiscal year, everybody being 100% bucket. After they're drawn, they'll go down to a lower, like maybe a 30% bucket, so there's still availability for them to be drawn. And then at the beginning of the fiscal year, everybody go back in a 100% bucket.
Okay, okay. So it's conceivable they could come up this event and then the next event?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, listen, I have a friend, Cherie Allop. She is a disabled vet, works at the vet center. She's been, I see the head of the gator
Yes,
in
sir.
her office and a fishing trophy, so I know she really likes the program. So.
Yes, sir. She fished a couple of years ago there at the East Pools, Lake Hancock.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's where she harvested hers.
Well, Randy, we're out of time. Is there any parting words you'd like to tell our viewers?
I'd just like to thank the veterans, not only in Florida but throughout the country. Thank them for their service and their sacrifice, as well as their families. And please, if you're not in our program and you qualify, please register.
For more information on Operation Outdoor Freedom, you can check them out on the web at www.operationoutdoorfreedom.com or give them a call at 863-578-1894. That's going to do it for this edition of Today's Veteran. I want to thank our guests today, Randy Ross, Ron O'Connor, along with Leanne Davis. But most of all, I want to thank you for joining us. Remember, for help and information regarding claims, benefits, and services available to veterans and their families, call the Polk County Veterans Service Office at 863-534-5220 or log on to the Polk County website at polk-county.net. I'm your host, Tim Kirkhart, and we will see you next month.